You know, it's been a while since I've covered some just good old-fashioned internet drama. Just people on the internet fighting about how a project should be run, and it doesn't matter. It is completely inconsequential. Nothing important is happening here, but I'm still going to talk about it. So I don't spend time looking at the Doom community, but today, let's talk GZDoom. The world of Doom source ports and Doom modding is a confusing mishmash of projects, of forks upon forks upon forks, over decades upon decades. I'm not going to explain all of it here. If you want to know more about how all of these projects are linked together, go check out the Doom wiki. But the TLDR is there was a project known as GZDoom. This was started in 1998. This was a port of the Doom source code, bringing in a lot of features that were spread out across a bunch of different projects, and for a long time, this was a really popular way to run Doom, and a really popular way to mod Doom. So of course, later down the line, there were projects based on this project, and then based on those projects, but when we're talking about GZDoom itself, this stopped development in 2017, and from there, a couple of projects took its place, those being GZDoom and LZDoom. GZDoom is the one we're talking about today. LZDoom hasn't been updated in quite a long time. GZDoom here is marked as the primary version. This is basically the direct continuation of the GZDoom project. So hopefully that's enough to bring you up to speed on why this project even matters. Now the GZ part of the name, this is from the creator of the project, GZDoom. GZDoom, GZ, makes sense, otherwise known as Christoph. With that, let's actually talk about what is going on, because this isn't something that just happened overnight. This is something which has been boiling up over time. Years upon years of little issues here and there, which by themselves aren't that big of a deal, but it's just years of anger that had to go wrong eventually. And this was the issue that broke the camel's back. Bug project management. The person who opened this has been a fairly frequent contributor in recent years. If you look at the contribution graph, you will notice that GZDoom is by far, this is GZDoom here, by far the largest contributor on the project. However, that's mostly in the early days of the project. In the past couple of years, it's been mostly other people, and especially during this period here, basically just disappeared from the project. Respectfully, Graph, can you please stop pushing to master? If this was still a solo project, it wouldn't really matter. The problem is, in those more recent years where Graph has kind of stepped away from the project, it's become more of a team-run organization where people, you know, follow development rules and development practices, not just throwing things on the master branch. If this commit here needed clarifying, it should have been a draft PR. You have pushed untested code. Leaving a note for people to test later is ridiculous. Now that it's in the codebase, it will be forgotten. The use of an LLM to write your code for you likely violates the GPL. So the commit in question is this one right here. Tweaked launcher window theme. Auto detection of dark mode. The Linux solution was provided by ChatGPT and needs to be reviewed before being deployed, but was just sent into the repo. So you committed it, but it still needed to be reviewed. Why did you commit it if it needed to be reviewed? That's the point of a pull request. You care about clean Git history, but it is full of you going back and forth because things are not discussed with the team. This is really dumb. So we have this commit made. Okay. Apparently, this was broken before, which is why I needed this commit in the first place, but now it's been fixed in the official distribution, which makes this commit unnecessary. Or so I am told. What a horrible, absolute garbage commit message. So this got reverted. And then he reverted the revert. What are you doing? Again, all of this could have been resolved by just using a pull request and discussing it with other people on the project. Very simple. You hide not insignificant changes in commits, which has people worried that you'll randomly rip out features that they rely on. We are a team. Doing stuff like this shows how little you respect your peers. I understand that this is your project, and you can do whatever you like. Please, instead of pushing directly, open PRs and wait for maintainer to act them. This would set a good example, allowing time for maintainers and other developers to review your work. Now again, this is his project, and this is something that he can do. If he wants to just go and push things to master, he's allowed to do that. But when you have a project that you kind of vanished from, and then people took over the reins, and then you come back and you keep developing it like you used to do in the past, it's gonna feel like, you know, you're out of place here, even though you're the one who started the project. The recent progress under the more collaborative team-based practices of late has been magnificent. It'd be a pity to see that get undermined. Now you can see graph right here. So instead of saying, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't just push things to master, maybe I should go through PRs, maybe I should check if code actually works before I commit it to the project, because people actually rely on this project, because this is the main distribution of ZDoom at this point. Instead, he says, feel free to fork the project under A. A what? Couldn't even finish writing the comment before you committed the comment. Right, love the self-reflection. Very mature. What the hell is your problem graph? You disappear for a year, come back to send a bunch of work to the curb, use generative AI bullshit to solve an easily searchable problem, and then tell people to kick rocks when they raise a valid concern for it. This engine has been in the greatest health it has ever seen, and you know how I know that? Because someone did fork this project, which you then threw a massive shit fit on its respective Discord server because you weren't in charge, took unfinished code from that wholesale with barely any effort to touch it up, then left from several servers when your adult tantrum didn't work. Now, yes, the things in this issue are kind of annoying, but it wouldn't be enough to completely blow things up. This has been something that has been bubbling up for a very long time. So I found this Reddit post from 2021 about a situation that happened in 2017. So, let me just search. Graf Zal. He was at the center of what happened here. So basically, there was a modding competition where this mod relied on a bunch of glitchy, garbled features. It was a very, how would you say it, controversial mod, but it wasn't just using things for no reason. It was intentionally relying on bugs. It only worked with the final version of ZDoom 2.8.1. It was a really cool idea because it could only work on this version with the bugs only present in this version. The problem is this mod, Lilith PK3, because it relied on bugs in ZDoom, wouldn't function in GZDoom because GZDoom had since fixed those issues. Now, this makes sense, and any normal person would say, okay, it relies on bugs, I understand that. This pissed off Graph for some reason, because it was a popular mod that didn't work in GZDoom, so obviously that was a problem, and this had to be something that you yell about and make everybody know that it's so terrible that there's a mod that doesn't work in GZDoom. So basically, he tried to write off the entire award show, tried to go around insulting the creator, insulting the mod, some people are suspecting, running sock puppet accounts to upvote the negative reviews and downvote the positive reviews. No one's provided evidence of that, but there's a lot of things where people just feel like this person is very, very salty and has been for a while. Not just a while, basically forever. Now, eventually this issue made its way out of just the GZDoom developers to regular people who might be using GZDoom and all this good stuff, and you will notice comments about GZDoom referring to something known as texture filtering. And this is a very, very long-running complaint about GZDoom. So this is an example. Here is trilinear filtering enabled. Here is no trilinear filtering. You can't really see it in this case, but it does look a little bit blurrier. In the gameplay, though, this is with it enabled, and this is with it disabled. And you see it especially badly on the enemies here, but even just the gunfire is really bad. This feature is enabled by default in GZDoom. There's a toggle to disable it, so you can go and do that, but this is enabled by default. And people have talked about this feature for years and how terrible it is and why it shouldn't be enabled, and the dev just never wanted to hear anything about it. And basically, there was this big discussion about it on the GitHub. All of these comments regarding it were deleted. And then if people came over from this forum, which was constantly talking about this feature and why it shouldn't be enabled by default because it genuinely looks terrible, basically, you would just be banned from the repo. And this isn't important. There is a toggle to turn it off, and you can do that. But it's just another one of those little things which adds on to this persona of not really wanting to work with people. This is Graph's project. It's only Graph's project. Graph is going to make changes that Graph wants, and anybody who doesn't agree with that, well, it doesn't matter that I disappeared and you were maintaining the project while I was gone. It's my project, so I'm going to do what I want. And keep in mind, this is just the stuff I found scratching the surface. If you've been around GZDoom for a long time, I would love to hear stories that you know. I would love to hear situations that have happened. Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, I do want to correct one thing. People are saying GZDoom is dead, the project's over, all of this stuff. No, the project's not dead. It is still being developed. There are still developers outside of Graph that are still working on the project. It's still being developed. Now, is that going to happen long term? Is there going to be further splintering? I don't know. But there has already been some splintering to happen so far. When he said, hey, just go make a fork, well, that's what they did. They went and made a fork, and a lot of the main developers that were working on GZDoom have now moved over to UZDoom. And this got announced over on the ZDoom Discord. At the moment, UZDoom aims to implement the new features originally intended for GZDoom 5.0 and also have a more stable development structure with healthy collaboration and less power given to individual project leads. It's important to make it clear that UZDoom is not a brand new engine. It's a fork of GZDoom. While it's reasonable to expect new features, it will not magically become better in every way. At this time, we don't know if GraphZal or other developers are going to continue working on GZDoom. Nothing is out of the question. GZDoom is GraphZal's port, so whatever happens, it will be his call ultimately. And what happens to the ZDoom community? Nothing. Both GZDoom and now UZDoom are direct descendants of ZDoom and continuations of its legacy, so our community will encompass all versions of that engine. That said, it's reasonable to assume that UZDoom will be the main flagship version of the engine going forward. More channels may appear on the server and more subforums on the forums, but other than that, no major changes are planned at this time. And no, GraphZal is not banned from this community. People have had issues with him for a while. There's problems and people have wanted him banned, but no, he's not. In fact, if you go around, just bad-mouthing him, insulting him, harassing, doing all of this stuff, you will be banned. Be a normal person. If you don't like a project, you don't need to make it your entire personality to go and hate the project. And one of the UZDoom developers on Reddit had this to say: saves and mod compatibility between GZDoom and UZDoom will be 100%. Yes, you'll be able to bring over your saves. The program folders will change though. We'll do a quick write-up to help people eventually, and mods. Now, this is whilst the projects are still very similar. Will that always be the case down the line? Right now, we're about a week into the fork happening, so it's hard to say. For mod creators, that also means, yes, you can also just continue development with zero friction. Again, this depends long-term what the project plan is going to be. It might still just say very similar, in which case, not a big deal. The initial group of us that have left have basically been keeping the engine alive for the 1+ year that Graph was mostly MIA, and we've always operated on a collaboration-centric basis. As a result, UZDoom gets rid of the one man decides everything, or my way or the highway development model. Everyone has to make pull requests that must be peer reviewed thoroughly, and everything will be transparent. No one is allowed to commit directly to the master branch. And the UZDoom organization/repository also has multiple owners. There is really no one boss. Cheers, and let's continue making fun stuff for Doom. Now, normally when there is a protest fork, I would say, you know, who knows what the project's gonna do, it might die, all this good stuff. But these people have basically been running the project whilst Graph was gone. So they already had a situation where they were running it with the model they wanted, with the developers that are now on UZDoom. So it's not a protest fork like some random person forks it. These are the developers of the project. Now, some modders are kind of raising the alarm bells about these points here. Yes, right now, things are gonna be one-to-one. However, well, let's look at this. So this is from the Trenchfoot mod. GZDoom controversy, move to UZDoom, and news regarding development. GZDoom is basically dead. Now, as I said, it's not actually dead, but it's unclear how many people are going to stick around on the project. In short, our next move is to wait until the dust settles and closely follow the development of UZDoom while we keep making steady progress with the game. As soon as we have a concrete timeline for 5.0, we'll announce the release date of Trenchfoot. We've been working on a lot of fun stuff, and we can't wait to finally show it all off to you guys. If you're a modder and you've built your project on this engine, and now there's a situation where it's unclear which branch is going to continue, and yes, it's said it's going to be one-to-one compatible, but is that going to remain always the case? You want to pay close attention to where things are going, especially if you've put a lot of effort into this project already. Whilst I'm not deeply involved in the Doom community, frankly, I'm not involved whatsoever, I'm still very interested to see where this goes. I'm always curious to see when a fork happens, what happens to the original project? How many people stick around? Does it end up just being the main guy and no one else? Does the project die? Does eventually the main guy say, hey, maybe I screwed up, maybe I should learn to play along now? No one knows, unless you have a time machine, in which case there's probably better questions to answer than what happens to GZDoom and UZDoom. But let me know what you think's gonna happen down below in the comment section. If you liked the video, go like the video. If you really like the video, go subscribe as well. Yes, do that. If you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to Daily Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's gonna be it for me, and Doom. Like this.